Hi everyone, this is Ethan Dre with another Photoshop tutorial. During today's tutorial, we'll be reviewing two selection tools. These selection tools include the Quick Selection tool and the Magic Wand Selection tool. These two selection tools are great because they're contrast detection selection tools. What that means is you're able to select and isolate pixels of similar tones with these tools. First, we're going to start with the Quick Selection tool. The keyboard shortcut is W. And if you go over to your toolbox, it's the icon that looks like a paintbrush with an elliptical selection made. Let's go ahead and click that. And if you don't see this icon, you can always right click or click and hold the Magic Wand tool, and the Quick Selection tool will be hidden with the Magic Wand tool. The great thing about the Quick Selection tool is that it's more of a continuous sampling selection tool. So let's say that we want to select the blue pixels in the sky. Similar to our paintbrush, all we're going to do is left click and hold down, and we're just going to start painting the pixels that we want to select. Now notice the further we paint it along, the wider range of tones and pixels that the Quick Selection tool was actually selecting. Once we have our selection made, let's go to the top left corner of our application and look at the settings. So to the left we have three different icons of our Quick Selection tool. We have our regular Quick Selection tool. We can add to our selections with this little plus sign. We can also hold in Shift on the keyboard to add to selections. This is consistent with all selection tools. So if we wanted to add the dock to our selection, all we would have to do is hold in Shift, and we could just start painting the pixels of the dock. Now notice we missed a little corner in the top right. With my selections, if I feel like I can't really get them as precise as I'd like them, I always like to zoom in, then that way we can clean it up exactly how we want it. Okay, let's zoom back out. The other icon we have that has a minus sign next to it is to subtract from our selection. Okay, let's go ahead and click that. We can also hold in Option or Alt on our keyboard. So let's just deselect the sky with our Quick Selection tool. Remember, all you're doing is left clicking and holding down. And it's more or less like a paintbrush. Any of the pixels or tones that you paint over top of are going to be selected. Now if we run into the problem where we have these really tiny little selections here and we don't want to use such a small paintbrush, all we're going to do is go up to our brush settings here and we're going to increase the size of our selection tool. So as you can see, the diameter of our selection tool is already a lot bigger, and that's just going to make things a lot easier. Another way to increase or decrease the size or diameter of your selection tool is the brackets on your keyboard. The right bracket increases the diameter and the left bracket decreases. Now remember, the larger the diameter of your selection tool, the wider range of pixels that are going to be selected. Next we have Sample All Layers. This is pretty self-explanatory. If we have multiple layers in our layer panel and we have Sample All Layers checked, Quick Selection is going to act on all of those layers, reading the contrast of the pixels of all of the layers. If we have Sample All Layers unchecked, it's only going to be detecting and selecting the pixels on the current layer that is selected. Lastly, we have Auto Enhance. Auto Enhance does a great job at cleaning up the edges of your selections. I would highly recommend keeping Auto Enhance checked if you're trying to make specific selections. If you have two tones or flat documents or images that you're trying to select, you might not need it checked, but go ahead and check that Auto Enhance if you're trying to blend imagery or make clean edits to photographs. Moving on to the Magic Wand tool, let's go over to our Quick Selection icon, click and hold, and just select our Magic Wand tool or keyboard shortcut W. While the Quick Selection tool is more of a continuous sampling selection tool, the Magic Wand tool is more of a one-click selection tool. Similar to before, if we're going to select the blue pixels in the sky, we're just going to hover over the blue pixels and left click. And notice the Magic Wand tool selects all of the sky in one click. Once we have our selection made, let's go up here in our settings and check these out. Similar to our other selection tools, we can add or subtract or intersect our selections. We can also hold in Shift to add to our selections or hold in Alt or Option to subtract from our selection. We also have sample size. Right now our sample size is set to point sample. What that means is it's only selecting one pixel and selecting all of the other pixels that are similar to that tone. The higher the average, the more pixels or the more tones are going to be selected. This is because your sample is averaging the tones of 101 by 101 pixels in your selection. Next we have tolerance. The higher the tolerance, the wider range of sampling color. Let's deselect. If we go up to select, deselect, or hit Command D or Control D on our keyboard, we're going to turn this tolerance down to 10. Now you notice a lot less pixels will be selected because our tolerance is turned down. Therefore, it's selecting a narrower range of colors or tones. Now if we turn our tolerance back up and we add to our selection, notice it selected the entire sky once again because we turned our tolerance all the way up to 82. With anti-alias checked, it's going to smooth out the edges of your selection. With contiguous checked, it's only going to select contiguous pixels. Therefore, it more or less finds edges with your selection. So if we have similar blue tones at the bottom of our image, they're not going to be selected because it's not a continuation of the blue tones at the top of our image. Let's go ahead and deselect and uncheck contiguous. Now notice when I make my selection, the magic wand ignores our edges and it continues to select pixels that are of similar tones in the top of our document. So for cleaner, more specific selections, you're going to want contiguous selected. Let's go ahead and deselect. And once again, with sample all layers checked, it's going to be sampling the tones from every single layer. Without it checked, it's only going to be sampling the tones from the current selected layer. Alright everybody, that's the end of our lesson today. We went over quick selection tools and adding and subtracting from our selections. We also went over the magic wand tool where we can change the sampling size of our selection or increase and decrease the tolerance of our selection tool. I hope you all enjoyed the tutorial today on the quick selection tool and the magic wand selection tool. This is Ethan Dre with another Photoshop tutorial. Thank you for watching and please check back for more.